Well, it's been a long time since I've made any videos on here. I guess I'm still on here because, some people still listen to what I have to say. And essentially, it's not so much an ego thing for me. I've never, um, I've never been interested in having a large amount of viewership or anything like that. So it's not, I don't monetize my videos in any way or anything like that. But I do think that certain viewpoints should be presented to a larger audience, and that's all I'm doing. So, uh, and it will always be, to some degree, a very small audience, and this is just what essentially humanity is all about. People have opinions based on facts or conjectures and so on. So let's not even get into this. So let's delve into certain subject matter. um, uh, uh, Capricious Black Box, I think, made some very reasonable arguments in the recent past here on YouTube, and essentially this delved into this whole issue of presuppositionalism and arguing with religious dogma, essentially. And from my viewpoint, this guy presents very valid arguments, and the presuppositionalists in this argument are essentially saying that nothing will change their mind because everything that they view is the truth, as they call truth, is contained in one book, in one single book, and that is the end of it, essentially. So there's absolutely no point in even arguing with these people, because uh, if this is what they believe as the truth, and if they can't deviate from that belief system, if they're not amendable by any other position taken, then it's essentially a complete waste of time. So this is why I've never argued with these people, because it is so entrenched that you simply can't get them out of their own mindset to think about any other possibilities. Now, I did want to bring up this subject of whether science in itself um, is the truth. Well, obviously, uh, even scientists will tell you, true scientists will tell you that no, there is no such thing as an absolute truth, because after all, everything that we regard as truth comes from the perception of a human being. And so in itself, this is a priori a misconception to say that everything we discover um, discover or have discovered in the past is infallible. No real scientist would ever make that kind of argument. And the thing that bothers me is that this somewhat more humble position of scientists who say, well, all we can do is falsify. We can't, in certain instances, you simply cannot prove a positive, but you can falsify certain events if they simply do not bear out in reality. And that's really what science is all about. It's essentially looking for inconsistencies in theories which can be disproven, over time. I tend to reject any kind of absolutist viewpoint of the origin of the universe and so on, because there can never be such a thing. Everything that we do uh, as a human species, looking at this outside world, can never be 100% objective or true. It's an impossibility. you know On the other hand, I have to say that people who still believe that evolution, the evolution of species, is somehow some unproven fact or some unsubstantiated theory, it's just basically it's a nutty position to take. Okay, there are hundreds and thousands of studies who hundreds of thousands of studies which prove basically that evolution has taken place. Nobody's even talking in these circles about the origin of the universe. It has nothing to do with the origin of the universe. And probably, this is a misguided quest to start with. I mean, we are a carbon-based species, and we think that somehow we can figure out what the origin of the universe is. Now, this is where I will, to some degree, criticize the theoretical physicist community out there, people like Lawrence Krauss and so on. And they're very enthusiastic about their theories. But it depends, it depends on who they talk to, and in what context. Now, within the scientific community itself, these people will admit that this is simply a theory and it can be wronged or disproven at any time. To a larger audience, they sort of tend to portray the opinion that that this sort of issue is it's solved already, when it really isn't solved. And as far as I can tell, it will never be solved. So in a way, it's sort of a defense mechanism in terms of theoretical physics that says, look, the larger population doesn't know anything about physics to start with, not even rudimentary. And so on some level, we're the people who should be trusted, at least on some level. On the other hand, some grandiose statements come across as, how should I call it? Come across as claiming the truth. Well, we live in a basically in a finite world on this planet, and so there can never be any absolute claim to truth. All we can do as carbon-based entities, basically, is to observe, to record, and to conduct comparisons in regards to ideas, whether they play out in this our reality, as opposed to whether they are completely ridiculous and do not work at all. That is basically all we can do. So our perception is, in a way, limited to our own evolutionary brain power, to our own limitations. Now, in my view, though, you have to completely reject anything that is based on religion, which is essentially just one book or several books, oftentimes completely contradictory with each other, and then proclaim that you have the truth. I mean, this just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. At best, none of us know the truth, but to proclaim that any organized religion of any kind holds the absolute truth of anything, it just doesn't make any sense. So that is my view on this whole entire religious debate, and I'm completely done with it. what should I say? It is a field of inquiry into human psychology, which can be debated endlessly, endlessly. And I am not in favor of having a creationism, something completely unsubstantiated by anything, taught in U.S. schools. I am against it. I will vote against it. I will do anything I can to reject that kind of a notion. So that's part one of this little video. Part two will delve into perhaps science and well, we'll see. People have a very short attention span on YouTube, so I'm going to keep this very short for each video from now on.